Hey you, it's CovertGo2, and this is the part where CGB reads cards. These cards are from Murders at Karlov Manor. This is the upcoming set in Standard. Wizards officially spoiled these cards as their sneak peek. These will not be coming out until February, but they will be Standard legal. So let's check them out. First card. Oh, by the way, we're joined by Twitch chat. Say hi, Twitch chat. You can find me streaming on Twitch. Not sure of the schedule, but you should go drop a follow. Check out the link in the description. All right, first card, not on my watch. 1 and a white for an instant that says Exile target attacking creature. That's it. That's very simple and straightforward. That's wow. Usually on this effect the creature has to be tapped or something. It's an uncommon. Ooh blue white control likey maybe. I don't know if it's a 4 of, but it's a something probably. Nice. Next card, Novice Inspector. 1 white for a common 1/2 creature human detective. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. So a 1 mana 1/2 that when it enters, you make a clue and it's a human. It's like a Thraben Inspector reprint, but Thraben Inspector's flavor is Innistrad, and this is a Ravnica plane. So is Thraben Inspector good in this day and age? We're going to find out, but there are already human decks. There's plenty of human synergy, so I have a feeling that Novice Inspector will see play. It's a pretty exciting card to see. Also really helpful in a deck that's going to either, one, put a lot of artifacts on the field, like the current blue-white artifact creature decks, like Spyglass Siren. You know, that card sees play. This card, in some cases, is better. In some cases, it isn't. It will crew the schooner. Yeah, this card's going to see play. This card's going to see play even if outside of just straight up human decks. Next card, Wojek Investigator. 2 and white for a 2/4 flying vigilant angel detective rare. Detective, the creature type. Isn't that like a job? Anyway, flying vigilant 2/4 for 3. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate once for each opponent who has more cards in hand than you. Did you see that part where it says each opponent? That makes this a commander card. 3 mana 2/4 flying vigilance that also investigates maybe once or twice. Pretty good. Not great. Great for angel decks, I guess, in commander. Benic Criminologists is 4 and a blue for a 4/5 merfolk wizard at common. When it enters the battlefield or attacks, you may sacrifice an artifact. If you do, draw a card. 5 mana for a 4/5 with maybe some payoff. That is a limited card. Burden of Proof is 1 and a blue for an enchantment aura uncommon. This has flash. It enchants a creature. An enchanted creature gets +2/+2 as long as it's a detective you control. Otherwise, it has base power and toughness 1/1 and can't block detectives, but it keeps its abilities. So this isn't quite an eaten by piranhas type effect. 2 mana for what could be an instant speed buff or an instant speed reduction in power toughness is going to be very good in limited, but only in limited. Deduce is 1 and a blue for an instant. Draw a card and investigate. That's very simple. 2 mana to draw and then 2 mana later to draw. It's actually like Think Twice, but without the discard synergy and a cheaper second draw. Better in artifact decks. There might be a place where Deduce gets play, but Think Twice isn't exactly standard power level anymore. I could see this not seeing standard play. I would have loved this card back in the day, though. I would have been just jamming this card. Maybe I'll play it just to run some boomer control. Next card is Hotshot Investigators. This one is 6 mana for a 4/4, 5 and a blue for a Vidalcan detective at common. When it enters the battlefield, return up to 1 other target creature to its owner's hand. If you controlled it, investigate. So 6 mana, 4/4, bounce a thing, and if you bounce your own thing, investigate. Limited. Out cold. 3 and a blue instant, and this spell can't be countered. Stop. What's the point of counter spells if everything can't be countered? Tap up to 2 target creatures and put a stun counter on each of them and investigate. Still feels like a limited card. I can't imagine running this in standard. 4 mana to stun 2 things and investigate. Yeah, we're going to stick with limited on that. Lots of limited blue cards. Yeah. Lead Pipe. It's a murder weapon. A black for an artifact clue equipment. And I assume since its type is clue that you can sacrifice it to draw a card for 2 mana. Yes, you can. It's an uncommon. Equipped creature gets +2/+0. Whenever equipped creature dies, each opponent loses 1 life. I'm gonna stick with limited. Flavor win though. You can feel the clueness of this set and what they're going for, can't you? Demand answers. 1 in a red instant common. As an additional cost to cast this spell, sack an artifact or discard a card. Draw 2. More red card draw. This is instant speed mono red card draw. And it can do the tormenting voice thing of you discard a card. It is an additional cost, so if it gets countered, that feels real bad. The idea that you can sack an artifact like a map token or a treasure and get your 2 cards instead of discarding, I think it makes this a lot better than Thrill of Possibility. Thrill would rarely see standard play, but discarding stuff and then reanimating is possible. This could be good. Like, it's definitely good enough for decks that want that specific kind of discard effect. And there might be a deck that comes along that actually wants to use this. The rummaging thing is just good enough. Pretty good card. Demand answers. Also, really like the flavor. After an attempt on Aurelia's life, she gave the agency an ultimatum. Solve the case in 24 hours, or the Boros Legion would declare war on the cult of Ratos. I feel like I get a good little glimpse into what's going on in the lore just right there in that card. Next up is Shock. This is a reprint. You probably know it. It's been reprinted like a billion times, as you see over here. 1 red instant common, 2 damage to any target. The flavor text might be the best Shock flavor text of all time. She realized that she could not, in fact, handle the truth. Very cool. Next one is Fanatical Strength at 1 in a green instant. So 2 mana instant. Target creature gets +3/+3 and gains trample until end of turn. Limited. Topiary Panther instead of Stomper. That is 4 green, 6 mana for a 6/5 plant cat at common with trample and basic land cycling 1 in a green. Discard it to search for a basic land. They've been doing more of that. There's like the 4 cycling dinos for 2 mana. I really like that for limited, that you get to play more big creatures that aren't completely dead early because you can turn them into lands. And every now and then you get to do something with this in a constructed format. Don't rule out the plant cat entirely, but the rate's probably not on the scale of like a herd migration. Now we've got a blue-white legend. Alchemist Proft, Master Sleuth of the good facial hair. 3/3 for 3. It's a 1 white blue for a legendary creature, human detective mythic with vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. And for X white blue, aka the casting cost of Sphinx's Revelation for you boomers, and a tap and a sacrifice of a clue, draw X cards and gain X life. Oh man, is that card good? Is this a standard card? It's a really cool commander if you want to play with Sphinx's Revelation in your command zone, as I oft do. The other card that did this was a Sphinx, and it was too expensive to cast and resolve. This is a pretty good body early, and even if they kill it, you still investigated, so it replaces itself with a card. I don't know if the body's big enough to have an impact in standard. I'm excited to play this in Historic Brawl for sure, and it might make the cut in standard. It's a perfectly reasonable card. It's very cool. And of course, Esper Legends. It's a legend. It's in Esper. People might try it there. It also works well in the blue-white artifact deck because when it enters the battlefield, it investigates, and it has that huge payoff in the late game. So I like this card. I'm excited about this card. This card is very cool. Looking forward to it. Aurelia, the law above. I was about to say above the law. I think that's obviously what they're going for. Anyway, Aurelia's here. Looks mad. 3 and a red-white, so 5 mana for a 4/4 legendary creature angel at rare. Flying. Vigilance. Haste. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, you draw a card. Whenever a player attacks with 3 or more creatures, You draw a card. That can be you. That can be them. Whenever a player attacks with 5 or more creatures, this does 3 damage to each of your opponents and you gain 3 life. So you get Lightning Helix if 5 creatures attack. When it says whenever it says a player, each opponent, I immediately think Commander. This feels Commander-y to me, but it's not like that rate's bad. I mean, that's one heck of a Sarah Angel. 5 mana for a 4/4 flying vigilant haste. That's kind of intense. This could make the cut somewhere. It's going to be trickier to trigger the abilities in standard, but definitely not impossible. I mean, 3 creatures isn't undoable, and there are some decks that go very wide, like the Imodane Recruiter deck. Just don't think you're going to want to spend 5 mana, to be honest. This card is close. I'm going to, for now, say it's a commander card. I think that's the vibe. Curious Cadaver is 2 and a blue and a black, 4 mana for a 3/1 zombie detective at uncommon. A zombie detective. Flying. When you sacrifice a clue, return this from your graveyard to your hand. Value limited, probably. Gleaming Geardrake is it blue and a red, 2 mana, 1/1 flying artifact creature Drake at uncommon. When it enters the battlefield, investigate. Oh, that's just good value. Whenever you sack an artifact, put a +1/+1 counter on the Geardrake. That's a perfectly acceptable little critter. And there are plenty of decks that do stuff with artifacts. It can do things in those colors mostly across like commander formats are pretty good, but maybe a few other formats. In standard, it might be a little slow. I don't know. It's a cool card. I like it. It's perfectly fine value. I just think it might be standard slow, but we'll see. There might be enough stuff going on for there to be an artifact standard deck. Lightning Helix. I've heard of it. Red and a white uncommon instant. 3 damage to any target and you gain 3 life. Oh my god, it's Lightning Helix. Had to throw that in there. Yeah, this is going to be in standard. So all of the time I've spent playing Esper might be changed into playing Jeskai, because control decks absolutely love a good Lightning Helix to make mono red absolutely suck it. However, so there might be some burn decks that splash red-white. We'll see. It's kind of hard to make the red-white colors happen, so we have to see what lands are in this set, I think, if there are any rare lands. I'm interested to see what happens there. But yeah, Lightning Helix, 100%, 100 bazillion% going to be a player in standard. Kind of excited about it. Kind of excited about removal with life gain at instant speed at a high enough rate to kill the thing with the Kumano faces Kakazan +1/+1 counter. So I'm into it. Meddling Youths is 3 and a red-white for a 4/5, 5 mana for a 4/5 uncommon human detective with haste. Whenever you attack with 3 or more creatures, investigate. And the flavor text is, I'm not going to read the whole flavor text. I'm just saying it's Meddling Youths. So it's very like meddling kids is kind of the vibe. They're definitely doing a meddling kids thing. Anyway, it's a limited card, I think. 5 mana for a 4/5 haste that might investigate. Not going to be good enough in many formats. Rakdos, Patron of Chaos. The big demon is back. They showed us Aurelia. Now they show us Rakdos. Pretty cool. 4 and a black red for a 6/6 legendary demon mythic. So 6 mana, 6/6 flying trample as normal. At the beginning of your end step, target opponent may sacrifice 2 non-land, non-token permanents. If they don't, you draw 2 cards. 2 cards? What are they going to sacrifice if they can't sacrifice lands or tokens? They're not going to do that. Their wedding announcement things cannot be sacrificed here. So this is often a 6 mana 6/6 that draws 2. Is that good enough these days? Is that good enough these days? Man, I hope so. I don't want to live in a world where this is bad. I want this card to be good. Hopefully Rakdos, Patron of Chaos, sees some standard play. This is a really cool card. Magnifying Glass is 3 mana. It is a reprint. It's a common. It's a mana rocket. Taps for colorless. It's an artifact. And for 4 and a tap, investigate. limited. And then you can do your own land art review. This is the plains. Here's, of course, the best one, the island. I think these are pretty cool. Remember, Ravnica is a plain, and the entire plain has been covered in city. So you're not going to see like kind of the classic landscapes. All of it is city. And these, I guess I like these. The one thing I would say is all the art seems a little samey. Like, it's like, look, there's, bunch of buildings around a central building. But at the same time, it matches the theme. I guess that's what they're going for. I probably won't buy these on Arena, but I'll definitely use them in my decks for Commander. 100%, no question. No questions. So those are the cards revealed so far for Murders at Karlov Manor, and we'll be reading more Magic cards in the future. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one. You're cool.